So why don't you go ahead and say hi, Dan? How's it
Hi,
going?
Scott.
Hey.
I'm ready to rock and roll. Just, wanted to make sure you gave me the proper
Yeah,
introductions and accolades, as
outstanding.
always.
We're ready to go.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, and especially the open house. I mean, we cannot be more grateful for the fact that you guys are here taking a look at our technology and what we have to offer. So obviously, I want to thank all of the current subscribers, future subscribers, everybody who's just tuning in. And I could not do it without my trusty assistant.
I'm your assistant. Hey, sidekick, what's happening?
That's right. Every Johnny Carson needs their Ed McMahon. And Brad here is the tall Ed McMahon that does magic at trade ideas. So Brad, you and I, we've got a hell of a show today.
Well, it's Wednesday, right? It's our interactive QA webinar. Time to show our tech, and excited about that.
It is. But, there's usually some what we call merengue before we start. First of all, let's start with a little bit of the merengue. Number one, everyone, please understand that Trade Ideas is an informational service. We are not a registered investment advisor, and no information that you are to be getting from Trade Ideas at our webinars, on our fingerprints, through our software, or in any other way, shape, or form should be construed as actual investment advice. That should be sought from registered investment advisors. Brad, do not seek registered advice from us. Okay, so everyone, today, such a fun Q&A session. We're going to learn a lot, but Brad, as you and I have discussed, being my sidekick, you know that you and I, we both have our strengths and our weaknesses, correct? Now, one of the things that I know is that I was just not that great at the scholastics of school, whereas I know you, Captain USC Circular Supply and Demand guy, were pretty good at the SATs and taking those tests. Am I correct?
Well, you're right. We do have our strengths, and our assets are brought together in the right place, for sure.
Brad was a fantastic test taker, knows how to do it, but I learned differently. And so what I thought to myself was, wow, what if I could have learned things? What if I could have learned things my way? So being the less scholastic of the two of us, I sought my very deep memory banks and decided to entertain our audience and ourselves through a small educational clippet of Buck Rogers in the 21st century. Now, before we begin, and this is very important, for all of you that don't know who Buck Rogers is, Buck Rogers is a fictional character. He's not real. And you also should not get any kind of advice from him. So Buck Rogers is a story about a guy who went off to space and was frozen and came back into the future many years ago. Brad, is he in the 25th century? What century is he in? Ah, there it is, 25th century, yes. Buck Rogers in the 25th century. And Buck Rogers is about to encounter a problem, ladies and gentlemen, that all of you investors encounter. Part of the problem is that he doesn't know it yet, but what he's going to realize is the people that he thought were professionals are actually kind of inadequate, and the whole system is a little bit messed up. So without me giving away all the cool stuff, what I'm going to do is kind of just tell you what we're about to see. And this is really good entertainment. You won't hear it, but you're going to hear me talking about it. So it's going to be a mystery science theater. And it'll be quick, I promise, because this all gets right into trade ideas. So here we go. Buck Rogers is about to jump into his starship. He's already been rescued and whatever. This is like, an hour of the way into an hour and 44 part 1 and 2, how the whole series started. So Buck Rogers is friends with Captain Wilma Deering, and they're being attacked by the Draconians. This is the first time Buck Rogers is about to go into space as part of the whatever fleet, the white-wearing good guys of the city. So here we go. Okay, so Buck Rogers and Captain Wilma Deering are jumping in. They're being attacked by the Draconians. Now everyone is supposed to use their imagination here. So they take off. You can't hear the noise, but here's Buck Rogers and here's Wilma Deering. They take off and they are part of a fleet that is about to go and defend. And here it is, this fleet. They are all following each other, lock and step. Here they go, following, 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 following. Here they go. Okay, I'm going to pause here for a minute. By the way, Aaron Gray, amazing. One of my favorite, big crushes. So what you're going to notice here is that everybody here in the fleet is following one another in formation. The reason I bring this up is because that is actually the same sickness that inflicts the financial markets. Everybody follows in formation. You are being led into the robo-advising or the indexing, which means that basically you are in the Western civilization bet that everybody else is in. But that is a bet that could work okay, like it could be average, it could be decent if everybody's enjoying, it's like the rising tide that lifts all boats. But if you want to survive, which we're going to see with Buck Rogers, you're going to have to do something different. So here they go. The battle is about to begin. This is you versus the market, okay? Buck Rogers is watching, and he wants to, he's telling his buddy, like, hey, this thing that you're holding on to forever, the buy and hold, that's not a good idea. And the guy's like, what? What's Buck Rogers saying? He's saying, pull up. Get out of this stock. Nope. The guy stayed in. At Twitter at 50, Twitter's at 14, and he had to take another mortgage on the house. So Buck Rogers is basically trying to tell Aaron Gray, the actress, or Captain Deering, that, listen, you guys need help. What are you guys doing? And she's saying, Buck Rogers, shut up. They don't even understand the terminology. Hey, the float. The float's only 10 million. They're saying, what's a float? Does that mean something above water? I don't understand what you're talking about. Now they're saying, hey, our indexing is perfect. Our models are perfect. But in the actual thing, you can't see it. Steve, it's not Star Trek. It's Buck Rogers. And I'm explaining it as it relates to investing and why this is such a great part of the episode. Is that she's saying, listen, we've got our models. We figured it all out. And he's like, your models suck. Look what's happening. Everyone's getting blown up. He's like, look, and you too, you're holding Snap. You're getting into Snap right here. GoPro. GoPro is an amazing stock. Oh, no, not GoPro. So Buck Rogers now, listen, I'm not going to be in this index anymore. I'm going to drive myself. I'm going to start using my own brain. I'm getting off of autopilot. Now that he's off of autopilot, he's saying, why don't I check out a little bit of supply and demand? What's really going on in the market? And Wilma Deering, who's like, what? What's he doing? She doesn't understand what's going on. And to make a long story short, Buck Rogers literally annihilates the whole enemy using his own brain without being in the same formation as everybody else. Okay. Brad, did you get all of that?
Yeah, I like how you bring a 40-year-old very enjoyable TV episode and you parallel that very nicely to trading the markets. You have to do something different. You can't follow the pack. You can't do what everybody else does and expect to be extraordinary.
Well, this is why I want to do it a little bit differently, and you know how passionate I am about what we're doing. Let's not get me started, because then we'll never get done with any of the Q&A. But this slide, Buck Rogers knows about stocks, is this. Look, whoop, sorry, I jumped the gun. Everybody's following everybody. This is the same thing on small if you take that as the metaphor, Brad, and look at the FANG situation, the Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, or even for the hedge funds, you can extrapolate it one step further, where you and I have talked to large hedge funds who are sort of interested in our technology, and then they're like, well, but we have to have your AI trade just billion-dollar cap names, and we're trying to explain to them, well, it can do that. But that's not where the best alpha is, which is why you guys right here, you, the individual investors, you're in the best time, you're in the best place, and you are doing the right things. Most investors, as per this slide, actually end up being like the people in the Buck Rogers crew that all got killed before they started using their own brain. So that was the whole reason for this show. Don't be those people. And if you doubt what I'm saying, we kind of, Brad, we did this at the last slide, but basically the head of BlackRock, in essence, admits that the democratization of information, which means that how fast things get out, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, texting, WhatsApp, I mean, there's zero time. It makes it impossible for the guys, smart guys, quote unquote, to get in first and make money. By the way, that's what's called traditional stock picking. Brad and I didn't know what that was. See, we thought traditional stock picking, Brad, as you may recall, is like seeing interesting supply and demand formations, or, well, we had all sorts of different ideas about it. But as it turns out, traditional stock picking is where you pay an analyst, quote unquote, money to give you information faster. Like, for example, if back in the 90s, Dell was going to report better than expected earnings, because you paid the analyst money via commission upsells, he would give you that information first, and the gravy train would continue. But the point is, that thing is over. With Twitter, with texting, and the way the information is democratized, you can't pick stocks this way. So how can you pick stocks? Well, let me tell you about that. You may call me Buck Rogers, but do not call Brad Wilmadirian. He would get offended by that. Brad and I, we come from the same ilk of the Buck Rogers ilk. I've been a professional speculator for most of my adult life, and that has, of course, given me the fortune to create trade ideas and create technology that I myself, as a speculator, would need. It's as if Doyle Brunson, who is a very good poker player, also had a software company that made poker. Brad, you should see if you can get a hold of Brunson.
Well, what most people don't know, though, Dan, is that you've been trading for a long, long time, right? 25 years or so, but for 20 years, maybe even longer than 25, but for 20 years, you've been making software, and that software, that your goal has always been to make something that's going to help you as a trader, not some idea of something that's going to actually help you trade. And that's what
that's part, exactly. And I'm just saying, the reason that you guys are listening to me tell you about Buck Rogers is because I've been in this kind of market where you invest for yourself my whole life, and it is the place to be, and you want to be there. And by the way, there's people on Twitter that you can follow that you can see that they're making this money. I mean, I'm not saying everybody, there's tons of bullshit, but money can be made. And what I want you guys to see is the potential and where the evolution is taking place. So that's why you're listening to me. I am the CEO, but again, I can't do this without Brad or Scott or the whole Trade Ideas team, which is now like close to 20 people deep. And we primarily are at the game of creating the best way to speculate in the stock market. How do you do that? Well, and again, Brad and I have said this before, and this is just the intro to the presentation. It's about approaching it scientifically. There's only one way to speculate. Number one is to understand that you will take risks, unlike the hedge fund guys who really want to not lose at all, and use insider quote-unquote information. We take the Breaking Vegas MIT card counting approach to all of our technologies. We use big data, and we have a database that creates this data and powers an artificial intelligence that does its best card counting throughout the day. That's really what has created the wave of trade ideas that you're seeing. We've been in business since 2003, but you are here and the business is exploding because people are seeing how awesome it is and what you can do, the kind of things that are possible. And now, again, there's kind of like a full rotation. I think this is the cool stuff to present, is that, for example, there's a firm, and they're a partner of ours, cnafinance.com, and you can go to their website, and they're covering the names that we are presenting in our technology and finding out why some of those names are going up or why they're going down, what's going on. So their stories are being written, so you can also now work to catch the why. So for the people that are in the open house, there's just so many different ways to unlock what you need to unlock. We, of course, have the free trading room. As you know, we know that the whole trading experience is a pack experience. It's not a solidarity type of a thing. The more that you can interact with people, the more you are likely to not cheat, meaning not hold losers, not make bad decisions. This is where crowdsourcing or anything actually works, is when you're kind of like opening yourself up for people to see what you're doing. And we do this in the trading room. Lots of very, very skilled individuals, including Barry Anderson, who runs the trading room and moderates and speaks there throughout the day, using best practices, minimizing risk, and showing people how to capture alpha every single day. We've been doing this for the trading room. Brad, how old is it? It's over 1.5 years, right? Or is it a year?
Yeah, no, it's a little over 1.5 years, right about that.
Okay. Well, about 1.5 years. So it is free, and it's subsidized by our technology, by your subscriptions. So it's something that everybody can really benefit from. Brokerage Plus. So this is one of the most exciting things that we are doing. You can now, and I'm just going to bring one of my windows in here, even though, again, we're not in the trade ideas part of it yet, but you can now right-click on any symbol and trade it using Brokerage Plus, which is connected to interactive brokerage. The reason I'm talking about this is, again, this goes to that whole Buck Rogers thing. Now, you want to use your brain, but you want to use the best out of computers that you can. And back in the 80s, they didn't know how to do all of that, but this is what we're doing now. We're using artificial intelligence to find us the best opportunities, and we're linking it as close as you can to the brokerage, but the human can still be involved. You can actually still be the maestro without all of it being black boxed for you. So Brokerage Plus, what's really cool about it is that right now it is free while it's in beta, and that free price gets grandfathered in to your Trade Ideas username if you subscribe before we put it out into a real release, which we, again, don't exactly know when that's going to happen. It's been in beta 2 months now, Brad?
Oh, no, not quite. Just several weeks, really.
Okay, maybe several weeks. But again, without exactly knowing, 1 month. So this is kind of a sneaky promotion that's been going on for a while now, but we want to really make sure you understand that there's not only are you getting all of this in the open house, but if you happen to subscribe, you're getting $1,088 perpetually for free, because Brokerage Plus will cost a one-time fee of $1,088 when we release it. The last thing before I switch to our Q&A is that we've started doing a very entertaining podcast. It's done by myself, Jamie Hodge, Brad's been in it. We've brought in guest speakers, and we will continue to do so. And it's just another way where how we engage with our subscribers. We want to be communicating with you so that we can also, get the best kind of feedback, and that you're not always hearing the corporate side. I mean, I have to say, Brad, in my opinion, as you know, I feel like corporate is not the best communication way. I want to communicate in a more people way. That's why I want to throw Buck Rogers in the mix, etc.
Well, you're not our corporate communicator, so it's okay.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, so now we got all that podcast. Scott will come in also at the end to kind of go over some more things. I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to jump to trade ideas. This is your Q&A. Okay, so this is a Q&A session where we're going to highlight and showcase some things in trade ideas. And what we're going to do is, I'm going to really, in this case, Brad, you know, you could be surprised. I'm here to educate.
I love it.
Okay, first of all, a lot of people, Brad, as you may know, don't always exactly kind of feel per se the nuance of trade ideas. What's really the deal with trade ideas? Why is trade ideas so freaking different? Well, I thought that I would start right in with number one. I mean, we approach the whole game visually. We want you to be able to get information, derive value from it instantly on the first impression. We have a channel bar, which is like a Netflix bar. And right now it is on after hours today because, Brad, what is it right now?
It is after hours.
Correct. God dang it, that guy's good.
Post-market.
But, what I want to do is I want to kind of showcase a couple of things. So here in our window called the top list window, which again, you don't really need to worry about configuring. You at the end of the day just need to worry about the symbols. But look at this column, Brad. Is this a column that you would say is available in a lot of other vendor places?
You know, I don't know. I don't think so.
Right. And that's not that. I would have want more enthusiasm from you. Like, no,
I don't know every other product, so I don't want to go out and say something I don't know. But, you know, that column, well, hold on, but like that column, like a lot of the other data points are really special to trade ideas. And it's not to say you can't find that somewhere else, but when you aggregate it all together in this platform, it really makes finding.
Are you and I going to have to get into a fight on the webinar? Brad, as you know, change from the post market, knowing how long it took our asses to get it into gear, requires you to maintain these numbers and keep them. And it's not a column that is provided by the exchanges themselves. The exchanges they have to keep regular market hours. You can see like the change in percentage all throughout the day. That's a number that they give you. But other than prints and that, you don't really get much else. But trade ideas, because we are tracking all of these data points separately in ourselves, and again, you can see this yourself. You can see like, wow, this thing is making a big post-market move at 48. It's right here. I can't see it on the daily yet, but so this lets you very quickly see things and be aware of data that you might not otherwise see in the same exact way. So this is the differentiating factors. Okay. We make it easy for you to instantly see what's going on. The largest post-market volume, S&P, Ford, gold, you know, that's always kind of standard Intel. I mean, this is why large volume is never like simply the key. It's the relative aspect of it that's much more interesting, which we're going to jump into in one more second. So again, our channel bar here lets you peruse the market. So for example, in the morning, you would go to the pre-market channel. You could see exactly what was going up, what's going down, and how that could possibly be a factor for you. Remember, we talked briefly in the Buck Rogers about the float. The float is one of these things that we continue to say that if you want to succeed in investing, you must now understand that the float is a number that you need to be aware of. Why? Because there's simple physics associated with it. If something has a float of 63 million versus a float of 1.5 million, obviously it will be harder to move a $63 million one. It will require more volume versus a $1.5 million one. These are critical things. If you do not understand this, you will be simply grasping at straws like many of the professionals that are piloting the Buck Rogers aircraft right now. And Brad, also, many of the hedge funds who are literally grabbing at anything that they can grab at to see where can they find alpha. So another quick important thing, we don't focus just on technicals or fundamentals. I hate those terms. We just focus on the data. What's most important and most compelling in terms of how can we get you closer to a decision should you need to make one. So we have things like earnings date as a column that, especially if you make or look at some of our windows, you can always augment things and say, well, show me something that's farthest from earnings or something that's getting close to, like right here, right at. These are all happening. Is it today, Brad, or I guess this is today, right? Aftermarket.
Yeah, the guys that are 0.25 happened this morning. The guys that are negative were yesterday. So
yep. Yeah. So again, it's about being in the zone of awareness. You can quickly go through channels based on stuff that might interest you. Like, for example, the other thing that a lot of people don't know is that Trade Ideas happens to watch not just market data, but we also watch social data. So you're getting to see what's being mentioned an unusual amount. So here you've got CNTF is being talked about 38,000 times more than normal. Its volume is 111 times its relative volume. I mean, it's just trading in a crazy, crazy way, which, by the way, this is the volatility. This is where astute investors make money. The game or the move is not to get into CNTF and then walk away and get destroyed like in the Buck Rogers, but the game is to be able to find the ebbs and flows of supply and demand, say maybe okay, maybe here, and don't let it go another 10 cents or the gap. This is how professional speculators speculate. Look, demand was so, what's the word, Brad? Vivid? I guess demand was so vivid that they wanted this thing so bad that no seller would sell till 235 and they bought it, and they kept on buying it in the pre-market all the way to 4. And it settled after that right around 277. So maybe it's at this settling point. That's how these things are done. This is what is happening. So anytime that you type in a symbol, like for example, if I type in Intel, you can also see the stock with relative social activity. So you can search every single stocks that you forward social activity. But there's a column that's showing you its relative social activity. And the reason it's on this channel is this channel has been pre-designed by us. One of the things, Brad, that I learned from dealing with large corporations is they typically give their customers shit. And people are so used to like getting something, and when they download it, they're like, okay, well, how do I configure this? Well, that's the big difference between us and a lot of the other vendors in the world, is that we are setting this up so that you are instantly getting value from it. Our whole point is for you not to have to configure if you don't need to. So all these windows are sorted by things that are relevant. So like, for example, and Brad, you and I point out the things that make Trade Ideas different, right? Would you care to discuss this, or are you also going to be...
It's right here. No, can I get a little redemption?
Better come out of the gates, boy.
I'd like a little redemption here. Now, this is because I think I'm Trade Ideas' biggest fan. So this right here, change 5 minutes %, and we have this on all the different time frames. But this is taking a look in real time how much that stock has moved over the last 5 minutes and giving us an ability to rank and sort it here, and then also color code it so certain data points stand out, really bringing big data to life.
And nobody has that. That's what I wanted you to say before.
There we go.
But Brad, you know what's funny? one of our other partners, Scottrade, who, I mean, we've been licensed by Scottrade and E-Trade, my goodness, since 2005. And they've been, you know, providing our tech to their clients in various forms, although for some reason they never really wanted to upgrade to the super duper version. But besides the fact, the whole notion is that at the brokerage level or at the platform level, you want to be as closest to the decision as you possibly can be. And these columns, Scottrade, you know, when we started working with them, do you remember that commercial that they did where the guy comes out of the taxi, Brad, and he's like, it's like 1,000 pairs of eyes?
That was Scottrade, yeah.
That was Scottrade. Now, they might have not done the Batman voice like I just did, but basically it's like having 1,000 pairs of eyes. Guy's like out of a cab and he's cruised over, you know, to his office building. But the point is that really is kind of true, because in this 5-minute column, in this window, we're watching, you're only seeing these things, right? But to be able to show you this, we're watching everything, and it has to meet all of this criteria in real time. So you are getting that 1,000 eyes, and you're only seeing it, like you're always being shown that strength. There's always like that little blip. Obviously, we're in post-market, which is not the best way to look at it. But whether it's strength or weakness, you're always focused on the thing that you need to be focused on. It's like this. You know, imagine a leopard who's in a tree, right? He's trying to like basically hope that an animal walks by him that he can attack, eat, and feed himself. But if he can't tell the difference between an animal and like a piece of wood, he's not going to succeed, because it takes a lot of energy to jump and attack and etc. So here, the idea here is he wants to be focused on the stuff that can give him energy. We are focusing you through our custom data on the stuff that can give you energy, so that you don't have to find, well, what's moving. And that's why, again, Brad, you know, that's why people fall back to that Netflix, Amazon, etc. It's that being pushed by the market to do the same things and then not realizing that there needs to be thought. You can use your brain and think for yourself. Here's the other example, change 2 minutes. That's another column custom to trade ideas. Nothing wrong with owning Amazon if you owned it at the right time, like right here or right here. Would have been a little bit harder right here, don't you think, Brad? Even though you're okay now. But people often forget that somebody who bought it here looking like Amazon was about to take over the world in October of 2016, I mean, it took them March of 2007, end of March of 2017 to break even.
You know, there's nothing unusual about that daily chart right there. You know, that's the way stuff breathes, the ebb and flow of a up move.
Well, right, and that's the thing. But as investors who are speculating and being able to see things that otherwise might just not be visible to you, this is where you get an advantage. Trade ideas. You want to be in these kind of things where the percentages are sometimes upwards of 100%. And please do not tell me that something that's trading 31 million shares today is illiquid. This is where you can be.
Well, that's it. We see it when that stock wakes up. We're able to see that, spot that, and identify it and show everybody through the software.
Absolutely. So again, tons of channels, cannabis, huge opportunity if they actually ever legalize it. There's things that go up, things that go down. Your earnings calendar, we have a channel for that. Stocks up with earnings today, down with earnings today, up with earnings tomorrow, and down with earnings tomorrow. You know, just a quick and easy way for you to be instantly get to where you might need to go. Joseph, we'll answer all those questions about the Scottrade stuff. But Brad and I are here. We're going to show you in the Q&A aspect of it, something that we are about to add. A lot of our customers, and Barry, have been asking for a filter about pre-market data. Again, you have to use your custom data to have this kind of filter. So we've recently added it. We've been testing it. And Brad, what I want to do is I want to showcase how to create a list of stocks that are right now close to their pre-market high. And I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do it by kind of showing people, again, especially since you're in the trial, some things that you can do and how easy it is to do stuff. Number one, don't get intimidated. This is not file, so you're going to new, and you're creating a top list. So here, there's a couple things that you can do, but look at the first one. It says, start from scratch. I mean, you can look at, there's a library of setups that you can use that covers tons of stuff. But the point is, here I'm showing you that there's a lot of customization that you can do in Trade Ideas. So I'm going to start from scratch, and I'm going to hit OK. So it's empty, basically. Then I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to go to Configure. And now that it's empty, I'm going to go to Search, and I'm going to type in the word distance. Okay, so we have tons of different things, but the new thing that nobody else has yet, but you will very soon, is called distance to pre-market high. So I'm going to add this as a filter. So this automatically takes me to where I would need to set this up. And notice here you can see some of the other things that I've used. But here's where, again, kind of the engineering of Trade Ideas takes place. And one of the things that I want to kind of showcase, Brad, that people often forget that, dang it, this is just not that hard. We use no and doors. There's just a minimum and a maximum. And the biggest, hardest thing that you must learn, drum roll, Brad, is that -4 is smaller than -3. Tell me, did I not nail it, Brad? That's the biggest thing that people get confused about, is that when, you know, from the zero line to the right, they all get bigger, but to the left, they all get smaller, and -20 is smaller than -10. Once you understand that, and I know that may all sound confusing right now, but you'll trust me, it's super simple. So back to distance to pre-market highs. So Brad, here, a minimum. What should I put as a minimum? But so I don't need you to answer that yet, Brad. Just correct me if I'm wrong. So okay, what would I put as a minimum if I wanted to see something that was close to highs? So I'm going to say something like at least minimum. So at least it's going to be 5 cents away. So this is the smallest amount that it's going to be away from the high. So I want to see something that's probably within 5 cents of the highs. Notice that this is in dollars, right? So I'm using 0.05. Okay. Now, but I'll give it some room. Between 5 cents and let's say 20. Ah, Brad, you didn't catch it. Bad, Brad.
Well, you haven't even given me a chance yet.
Okay.
You've done multiple things wrong, but that's okay.
Oh!
No, I'm kidding. First of all, you don't want $20, right? You probably want 20
right.
cents. But
that's a good mistake to show people. That's why we did it. So it's common, 20 cents, but it's actually 0.20. So then I'm going to just double check my exchanges, keep my OTC bulletin boards. Why not throw a few pinks in there and say close to pre-market highs. Now I want to see what columns do I have, because I obviously need the symbol. I want the price, maybe change from the close, and I'm going to say let's see, scroll down, pre-market range maybe. I want to see.
how about the distance to the pre-market high, since that's what you're referencing on?
Absolutely. Okay, so now we have that, and maybe a position in range. So again, I'm just kind of showing you visually. So position. Notice how easy this is to read. Where is a stock in its 5-minute range, 15, 30, the day, yesterday's range, 5, 10. Let's throw in the 5-day in there. And we're going to hit OK, and we already have it. Boom. So let's sort this by distance to pre-market high. My maximum is 20 cents. So
you want it closest to, right? You want
right,
to
but wait, but hold on. So I'm looking at these and I'm like, wow, I'm seeing a lot of red. Do you not see a lot of red, Brad? I see a lot of red. What I'm not realizing is that my question was a little off. So of course I want to see something that's close to pre-market highs, but I'm looking for strength in general. So I'm going to ask the software to also make sure that on a change from the closed basis, I'm focusing on the positive. So I'm just going to say change from the close of, let's say, 0.1%, just so that it's up. Aha, now we're getting somewhere. So now I have stocks that are strong, Brad, and who have at most here are currently based on, let me hide this, whoops, based on the close here, right? Or let me duplicate that. Time frame.
So Dan, he's showing right here the ability to have this window either kind of stay snapshotted at the close or even keep running post-market, and that's what he set it to right now, live always.
And this is why there's a Q&A. I mean, Brad, don't we want to show them this?
While we're here, before you go, Bob's asking a question. He's trying to do this in his, and he doesn't see the distance from the pre-market high. So let me just explain something here. Dan, we've added a custom filter into Dan's account, and you'll be able to do that. But actually, we're just testing this out. We're going to be adding these filters for you guys, for everybody to be able to do this. So there's no need.
Very shortly. I mean, probably like in a
week, we'll have this available for everybody.
Yeah. So in the Q&A, you kind of get to see stuff first. That's one of the things that we're trying to teach a lesson and show you cool stuff that's coming. And at the same time, I'm trying to say like, wow, yeah, don't be confused. So this is how what's cool about what you're seeing, Bob and everybody else, is that this is how we bring stuff to market. We're able to create custom versions that have them. We test them internally, and then we release them into the beta version. So there's a lot of things happening. Oh, yes, the prints, absolutely. So notice again, Brad, and this is why I like to just showcase how I showcase our tech, is that so here now we're seeing stuff that's the farthest away from the pre-market. Now if I go right here, now I'm showing you things that are at most like 5 cents away. So if you go to this stock right here, Schwab Emerging Markets Equity, and if I don't know why I don't see the pre and post market, Brad, but regardless, the point being, do you have any idea why I don't see them? Did I take them off? That's one of the disadvantages of having a development version, is not some of the stuff that's supposed to work doesn't always work. But the point, because typically we have color coded all of our pre and post market. Well, properties, show pre. Why didn't I have that? Properties, show post. Okay, much better, Dan. So here at 2408, you can see that it's getting close to its pre-market high. All of them will look kind of very similar. Of course, some of these are just tiny, tiny, tiny stocks. But the idea is that you can set it up any way you want. And now using some of our other technology, like position and 5-day range, for anybody who's new, you can just double click on this column and now you're instantly pointed in the direction of kind of what we call super strength. To add volume, by the way, search. So we have tons of different ways you can do volume. You can do relative volume, average daily volume, volume today. So I can say average daily volume, add a filter of, let's say, 200,000. And hit OK. And see, that's my custom formula that's going to turn into one for everyone. Okay, so the list gets smaller. And now I'm going to go to this and, whoops, and say volume today and show column. And now you can see it. So here, SSL, right here in post-market, in the pre-market it was right here, 15 cents away, and at the same time on 5-day highs. So here you can go to literally like what's the closest or what's very close. And you find these situations where the visuals are what is appealing to you. I'm only kind of, oh, Brad just messaged me something. Let me get that from him. I'm only showcasing that trade ideas is very simple to kind of design on your own, even though you absolutely do not have to. So I'm going to load a link from my cloud, and you can store
So the reason why I sent that to you, Dan, is because I just wanted to, you know, this is good at showing really the breadth of the way that we allow you to visualize this data. So using that same filter and coupled with a trigger event, an alert, if you will, the new high, right here we've got two different signals, looking something that's approaching its pre-market high, and then when it finally crosses its pre-market high. And there's some other filters in there, but it just illustrates how real powerful combining the alerts and filters and just the filters are in the Trade Ideas platform.
Well, you can kind of like, what I was trying to do here is like you can paint with the data. You know, you can add variations, like for example, relative volume. And even let's do social volume. And all of a sudden now you can do a lot of interesting, you know, so think about this, what can you deduce real quick? So here's a stock that has relative volume of 330, but Brad, look at its social activity. So what does this tell you? I mean, this is, again, this is the kind of insight you should want to have if you want to be privy to any data that others aren't privy to. So here's a stock that's going up on unusual volume, completely hidden from social media. In other words, it's not being talked about. That's something interesting. Here's one that's completely the opposite. So what you might consider, hypothetically speaking, is that there's more momentum. This is just the smart guys. This is momentum. But both can be good. It's just something that, you know, you can start to really realize, like when people look at things like relative strength and MACDs and Kelter channels, what they become focused on is these weird numbers. What we do is we create relationships that quickly turn into things that you can right away understand. Like if you look at GLBS, okay, Globus Maritime, and you look at its social volume, you can see that, okay, something interesting could be going on. This is like the beginning of a little bit of what you call like a turn, like a heartbeat. It doesn't mean necessarily that we know the future. It just means that it's something that I would right away say, you know what, I'm going to keep an eye on this. So what do? I'm going to go right here and I'm going to say approaching the whole number. And now I'm demonstrating one of the other proper methodologies that our clients use to extract alpha from the stock market. We introduce you to stocks, but most people assume that, well, when you get introduced to something, that means instantly something must happen. That's often not the case. Let me kind of explain why. Well, number one, I will say this. This one is kind of interesting because right here it's close to a really big breakout, okay? But the full trend reversal actually happens right here. Oh, it is on big time. There is such a beauty in letting stocks come to you. And I know you might say to yourself, well, wow, I mean, there's a lot of percentage points between then and then. But remember that it tried to do it here, looked amazing, and then got annihilated. And you wouldn't have wanted to hold it through that time frame. This was a yucky piece of digestion. But now we're back, and that's why, again, supply and demand solves all of these problems. It's visual. It does not need 100 million different other indicators. Your eyes can just tell you this was the pinnacle, the point. And it's obviously approaching it here. You can even say, let's get ready with a small position. The fake financial media spends a lot of time making you believe that you're an idiot and you can't do this. This is too hard. Individual investors can't time. I mean, this is just what the man wants you to do. He wants you to give money to other people where you pay fees and you don't make any decisions yourself. We want you to do the opposite. In the Buck Rogers sense, we want you to be Buck Rogers. Survive. Take all the autopilot away and let your brain work and let your eyes tell you what's obvious. That is the advantage of being an active investor with trade ideas. So Brad, I'm going to do one more thing to finish up and give Scott the reins. So a couple of things. Number one, we have a lot of cool little windows that we create from time to time. And this is one that I have done where I've seen some amazing turnarounds and moves. So what I want to do is first is I want to right click, save and share to the cloud so I can save and share everything. I'm going to say save and share. And then I'm going to copy all of this, and in the chat area, I'm going to paste it and give it to everybody. And this is a cloud link to my window. It's called The Gift. That's one of the ways that I really appreciate everybody spending their time listening to us talk. This window has been designed to find really cool looking stuff like this. Or zoom really close, or this gap up, or this move, or this move.
It's got some great columns in there that really highlight some of our data. I love that.
Yeah. Well, that's why, again, that's why it's called The Gift. But now, Brad, the lessons aren't over. Oh, no. But last but not least, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to modify this top list real quick. So first of all, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to configure, and in the columns, I'm going to select company name. Just so we can see it, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from, so you can go to your Windows specific filters and get rid of stuff. So hide unused, I'm getting rid of a lot of things. So here I'm going to show you how to do a couple of things. I'm going to say I want to see something that was up at least 4% or down at least 4%. So that's where the maximum.
So you said early on that the minimum negative is always less than the positive.
That's right.
That's not what you're doing here.
I'm going in.
I mean, I know the answer.
You're right. You are right. Dang it, Brad.
No. You're bookending it, which is something that's...
Don't make me go crazy.
You're doing it right. It's just one of those abnormal things, right? Normally the minimum would be -4 and the maximum would be 4 to grab, everything in between that.
But it does bring me to an important thing that you can see. We have these tools in here called magnifying glasses where you can click on anything and you can kind of see, show me stocks where the price was up at least 4% from the previous close. Also show me stocks where the price was down at least 4% from the previous close. So at least 4%. So it means it's 4, 5, etc., etc., etc. And you can see, like, what that looks like. We try to show people visually and data-driven how all of these work, and so that you can see what it looks like in different ways. So there's just a lot of good information, Brad, that kind of almost always goes unshown, and I want everyone to know that there's so much more depth to it. Again, everything here you can see what's going on. So why did Dan put that in -4? Okay. So he wants up 4 or down 4.
Hit the histogram. Do that one more time, and I just want to point one little data point out because it's super cool. So where it says count, just below your cursor and to the right, over to the right, it's got a number of 315. And what that's telling you is that for all the stocks that are up at least 4% and down 4%, that totals 315 different stocks out there in the universe that we're looking at. And then we do a lot of other things. You could do with all of your filters and some other stuff, but that's a great little thing just to let you know when you're doing some configuration of your own and maybe you make a mistake and you see that you put a filter in and there's like 1 or 2 available stocks or 0 stocks. Well, it's not going to work very well. So it's just a good check and balance.
Well, and again, it's available for anything. Here's your 5-day range. If I say a minimum of 30, show me stocks where the price is at least 30% above the low of this range. So in other words, in the upper 70, percent. How about 70?
So Don, we can't give out that pre-market scan because it's using some custom filters, and the custom filters are special to each user's account. You could add these to your account and add these custom filters to your account, but like I said earlier, we're just testing them right now, and the whole idea is that we want to make these available to everybody through your normal search tab and finding them like your normal filters. So that's our plan, and I would look for them next week to be able to add those. And then we'll have some setups. I'll probably make a channel for it and have some different types of windows that you can either look at through the channel bar or incorporate into your own layout.
Yeah. Okay, so here, whoops.
There's
so we're
cheap
showing
stocks
you,
in there, huh?
Yeah, so this is the big guy. I mean, I don't even know what these things are. So notice the data. You can bookend it. That's, again, something that a lot of people don't know, that you can
put a minimum price of $1 on here and let's see what comes up.
How about we'll make it even, so this is, again, it's a good way for you guys to see, just how to work with it. So here's $5 and how about 100? Or 500.
There we go. So now do this other thing. So another cool thing you can do, and we could go through days and days. Let's right click, go to properties, and let's bring in the, what do you call it, that bar.
Okay. But before we do that, I've got my own super duper one.
Okay.
So look, because I've helped people do this so many times, and I want everyone to know that it's super interesting and a cool way to do it. Okay, Brad, what is SOXS?
That's the, it's an ETF, semiconductor, bear semiconductor.
And this?
And that's a...
small cap bear.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, as you can see right in here, there's a lot of ETFs. And many people don't like ETFs for whatever reason. So they say, hey, can you make it so that how do we exclude ETFs? So what we want to show you, without having to create a special exclude ETF button, how we simply use data to exclude ETFs. So I go to configure and I go to search and I type in my earnings per share filter. I go to add the filter and I say 0.01 so that I want a company that at least can make a penny, but I'm not averse to seeing companies that are losing either, because the biotechs, they lose money. So either you're making money or losing money. And again, if you go, well, yeah, you see what we're saying. Making money, losing money. Now, all of the ETFs have vanished because ETFs do not have earnings per share. Brad, wasn't that neat?
I like that. That was good.
So again, just let me go to configure and notice, hide unused. Earnings per share filter makes it so that you do not have to look at ETFs. Okay. Now put in a relative volume filter here. And again, all of a sudden you can see how you can start to base from just random to something like, add 5. But look what happened to this list, Brad. I mean, at this particular size, you can almost say it's somewhat manageable. These are your very strong stocks that are going up on very strong volume. Now let's go once again and repaint the picture. Use the position in range. Where did I have that before? So position in 5-day range, I'm going to add the filter, and this time I'm going to say, well, I want to see the things that are strong, like at least 80% in their 5-day range. So now, every time I'm looking at this, I've gotten rid of the down. I've refined this to just the bullish case. And look, you can see, interestingly, it's also being talked about quite a bit on social media as well. Relative volume and social volume often are together, even though people think that it's not. So Brad, did you want to add something? Again, to me, this is what I wanted to show people, is that even though you don't have to do anything, there's tons and tons and tons and tons of power. Let me share this window in case anybody wants it for some reason. Same thing, back into the chat area. How are we on questions? Is there anything else that, Brad, that I missed, perhaps?
Yeah, I don't think so. Looks like we're caught up.
Okay, awesome. One of the things I wanted to finish up on is saying is that we're always adding channels. Brad created this one recently. It's called Trading the Gap. So again, all these cool things that you can do with trade ideas, we do them, and we do them for you a lot of times so where you don't have to. And whether you're getting the windows from Barry or from us or from anyone else, there's just a lot that you can see very, very quickly, which is our goal. Scott, I'm going to hand it back to you, my friend. I believe we are good.
Yeah, great. So Dan already mentioned the podcast. Do subscribe to that if you get a chance. We have a promo code this week to save 15% off your first month or year of trade ideas. So go ahead and do that. It can either be used for standard or premium. Use Yes to Holly, all caps like you see there. And both premium and standard include a full hour of one-on-one training. So after you become a subscriber and check out some of the getting started videos and the trading room, go ahead and schedule that. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll get the recording up a little bit later on, and it looks like no technical errors today, so that's all good. If you have any questions, email us info@trade-ideas.com. You can reach Dan directly, Dan at, or Brad is Brad at. Follow Dan on Twitter, Trade Ideas 1. We also have the regular Twitter account at Trade Ideas. Facebook.com/Trade Ideas Pro is where to find us on Facebook. We post some different content there now and then, so it's a good idea if you're on Facebook to follow us there. so you can share that stuff with your friends. Oh, Bob, the code was yes2Holly with the number 2 as the 2. You can also download a PDF. Go to the handouts panel on your GoToWebinar interface, click on the little plus or arrow next to it to expand it, and there's a blue link there you can download and get that info. So thanks all. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Brad. We'll have the recording up later on. See you guys tomorrow. We have the Trading Studio webinar tomorrow afternoon, so do stay tuned for that. And anyone that's entering that contest, the Price Alerts contest, if you're in the trade, the test drive, go ahead and make sure that you submit that before midnight tonight for consideration. Thanks all. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Brad. Have a good one.
Bye.